What's going on, fam? It's your brother Lawrence here with another episode of Watch God Work, where we look to give you inspiration and practical wisdom to live a good life, a godly life. Make the call. Pick up the phone and call. This is, I think, a particularly timely message for me, and I think for the world. And it's something that I think I've observed for almost a lifetime. Not just in one, recognizing how important it is to make the phone call, but also one who recognizes the importance of receiving the phone call. I think having a skill set for dealing with people and engaging with people in your life, loved ones, friends who are experiencing significant loss is invaluable. It's priceless. It's not a matter of if, it's when. You will experience loss, great disappointment, pain, unlike any other, where you don't really have all of the faculties or capacity in that moment or in that season to do or engage the world or life in the way that you normally would. And so being able to both receive but also give what people need in this time is so key. And I used to be one of those people, I think early on, even as a young kid, I didn't really experience a lot of deep loss early in life. I didn't have my grandparents, and my maternal grandfather had passed away when I was really young. But again, I was still so young. And so I didn't have any experience or any skill set or any type of reference point about how to support people who've experienced significant loss or great disappointment or immense grief. But I always sensed this view that, it was an awkward or it was a weird time. And that sometimes it was almost easier to almost stay away because you don't really know what to say. You don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to be hurtful. You don't want to be insensitive. And so a lot of times the default that not only I would kind of participate in when I did see it, even from school, even as a young kid or thing, would be, I'd rather not call because they're probably going through a lot of, I would give the default of not calling. And a lot of people, I think our default, and I think the default quote unquote wisdom is to not call. Cause awkward, you don't say the right thing. You kind of like, I want to give them space. Everybody is different. And I get it. I understand that. I understand that instinct because this is one that I subscribe to. But I think as I've lived life more, as I've navigated loss for myself, walked in loss, grief, immense grief with other people, with other brothers and sisters who have navigated it and doing it in this season, more and more I am convinced that there's rarely any case where it is not fruitful or critical for you to make the call. Part of, I think, our support of people is that in those times is that you hear the scripture, it talks about mourn with those who mourn, rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourning with those who mourn, that means like you're taking on the burden with somebody. You're taking on the cost. You're actually intentionally and willingly bearing cost out of your love for that person, right? And sometimes in those moments, whether or not that person wants to have a conversation, wants to engage, just knowing that there are other people who are thinking about them, who are considering them, who are thinking about their well-being. They may not even have to be in this space to talk, but it is very rare that you would ever find a time that someone will be angry at you or upset at you because you called. I can't even imagine that conversation unless that person intentionally said, please don't call for this amount of time. But you don't actually find that. What you do find is that people then just disappear. They don't talk. And then people pull back. And when I tell you that silence is deafening, it is deafening. It is deafening. And so my practical encouragement, I think that we are called to make the call, to make the phone call. And I'm encouraging anybody, never not call. You will rarely ever get an instance where that will hurt you or that won't be helpful to that person, whether they pick up the phone or not. And even if they do pick up the phone, part of the cost that you bear as a loved one, as a friend, is that awkwardness you feel. Sometimes you don't even have to say anything. But just making the call and being there, or even being willing to sit in that discomfort of even being weird to say the wrong thing or not something, that's love. That is love. That is care. Somebody seeing that missed call, or even that the voicemail is full, but you leave an email and follow up, that will never hurt you. But you know what has the higher potential probability to hurt you? If they never hear from you. They're not just going to assume, oh, I just was giving you your space. And I'm not even just speaking out of this directly. I'm speaking on both sides of this, of recognizing that this is an unintentional mistake that people make time and time again. Because what I do find unconsciously is that unconsciously, we prioritize ourselves. We prioritize, I don't want to feel uncomfortable. So we try to make it seem like it's about that person, but really it's about us. We don't want to have that awkward conversation. We don't want to feel bad about saying the wrong thing. We don't want to sit in that discomfort, but that's part of the cost you take on as a friend, as a loved one, that you are mourning with them. And so whether you have the direct connection to that person that is deceased or what is causing that grief, you're just sitting in that discomfort. And maybe your discomfort is actually just sitting in a conversation where you're just worried and not sure you'll say the right things. But the point is that often in that instance, you don't have to say anything. But just knowing that person, just knowing that you care and you showed it tangibly, it's the equivalent of saying, I love you, man. It's like, I don't got to tell you I love you. I love you. Look at the thing. Like it's that type of language. My big exhortation to people, especially in this time of grief, where there's so many losses upon loss, upon loss, upon loss. I felt like since the spring, summer, I have not been able to breathe. There's been loss after loss after loss after loss after loss. And then I grieved those times that I didn't make the calls over the years. You'll never get that time back to just be there with that person. Just a basic phone call, not a text, a call. But on the flip side, recognizing how beautiful and how much of a blessing it's been. Even when I couldn't pick up the phone, I didn't want to deal with it. The phone calls, these are things that stick with people for a lifetime. And these are skills that I'm telling you need to have in order to maintain healthy relationships for a lifetime. When people are mourning, when people are suffering, when people have gone through something, it is very rare. You always make the call. Always make the call. I'm saying that boldly, make the call. Because it will rarely ever hurt you, but not making the call could. And not just you, but most importantly, the person that you want to care for. And I know, again, that so many people are unintentionally not making these mistakes. We're not taught how to help people grieve. It is awkward. It is scary. It brings anxiety, but that's part of your love offering to your friend. Part of your love offering is that I'm gonna carry this anxiety, this worry, this fear, and I'm going to step in there with you. If you pick up the phone or not, I want you to know that I care. Give people time, practically give a call, leave a message, leave a voice note, leave a follow-up text saying I'm calling, just thinking about you. No pressure. Follow up again. It will not hurt. It will not hurt. And so this is just something I've seen consistently. And I'm encouraging people to shift their mindset away from themselves and put it on the other person. And I'm telling you that the biggest myth of all time is I just think you needed some space. I didn't want to bother you. I just didn't when I wanted to. No, make the call. Make the call. It's the greatest call that you can make in more ways than one. All right, y'all. Take care. Bye.